to the legislature of Olympia. Make sure to follow this guy on YouTube, X, Facebook. He's got some amazing testimonies and a lot of great advice. Help us welcome Mr. Garth Lundberg.
Do I even need the mic? Because I have to hold this?
Yes, you do.
I do, okay.
Always take one. Whenever somebody, I know you've got a loud voice. Anytime somebody
I do. Let me hold this right here. Because if I get off my notes, I'll just complain about the Democrats the whole time. That's not going to help anybody. Well, I'm really glad that I'm going first, that I don't have to follow Mr. Brian Noble. Because he's got some amazing, I've got to say, I am one of his partner pastors of Family Policy Institute. I think they are by far one of the best organizations in the nation of equipping the average citizen with information and action points to get people engaged in what's happening and to educate them. And I know, because I steal all their content, that use it at my church. But you know, like I said, my name's Eric. I'm very humbled to be here, to be invited to these things. Like I said, it is very humbling because, you know, you feel like I have something extra to give, or I have some special insight, when that's just not the case. I'm just an average citizen just like you all. And I've learned over the past few years to be an average citizen. And I think that that is where the power is. That is where the authority of our nation is being the average citizen. And so I'm here tonight because I love Washington State. I love Washington State. I'm from Pierce County. I love my county. We have some of the best people here in our state. Some of you here in this room, the best people. We have the best scenery. I live out in Graham, Washington, where you can see Mount Rainier every day. Never gets old, but I see it every day. And that view cannot be stolen from me by legislation. It can't be taken away. Unless they, I don't know, I mean, they might tax it or something. But anyway, you know, there's so many great things here in Washington State. I love the scenery. Like I said, I love the Seahawks. You know what's interesting? I was just up at the Seahawks parade when they won the Super Bowl this last year. A diverse group of people, I'm sure, politically, obviously, but everyone got along so well. I don't think there was any arrests, or maybe one arrest. And that right there gives me hope for Washington State. That in that political diverse, you know, mindset and ideological differences in one place, there was still something to gather around, to love and to be unified, and that was the Seahawks. I, you know, kind of love the Mariners for the most part. I also love Washington because I grew up in the 90s. And in the 1990s, the kind of grunge rock movement was born right out of Seattle. Yeah. And the good part about that is a lot of those bands still tour, and they always stop in Seattle where their roots are from, so I can just drive up there and go see a show. There is so many great things about Washington that I believe are worth fighting for, are worth standing for, are worth living for. Like John said, I'm a husband. I've been married for 25 years. I have 8 kids, 5 boys, 3 girls. We just celebrated the birth of our first granddaughter, so that's exciting. I come from a long line of combat veterans. My father was a Vietnam combat veteran. My grandfather was a World War II combat veteran. My great-great-grandfather was a World War I combat veteran. They were born in Washington. They went off to fight the war, and they came back and lived the rest of their lives in Washington. There is something to be said about this state. It is very, very special. And I come from a home that was not very political. In fact, my dad, who I love and respect more than probably anybody, we never had a political conversation. I've never understood, you know, anything about politics or anything that was going on. He never talked to me about it. And then I got married, and that family that I married into was unbelievably political. Very big family, lots of conservatives and a lot of progressives. That made for some spicy family reunions for sure. But my father-in-law, you know, he was always running for lieutenant governor and mayor and city council and whatever he was doing. So when I got into the family, I was very embarrassed and timid because I didn't know how to engage in these conversations. I didn't really know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. And I'm 22 years old at this point. I've since figured it out, but I believe that there are so many just like I was that just have no idea what's going on, and so they avoid these conversations. They hide from, they see, the Republican, and they, not because they're not interested, not because they don't believe in those values, but because they don't understand, they're embarrassed. I don't know how to have that conversation. And that's why I believe that being a PCO, which I am down in my district in Pierce County, is so important. Because we are the ones that connect people, not only to the party, but to the values of the party, and those one-on-one conversations we have that with our neighbors and the friends at the coffee shop. Those are the most important conversations that I believe are had, especially during primary season. So a little bit of my story and how I kind of ended up here today is, like I said, I didn't understand politics, but as I started having kids and paying taxes and buying my own stuff and my own food, I started to realize how much that it truly did affect me. 2019 here in Washington, they had that comprehensive sexual education push. If you guys remember that, we fought against that so hard, and that was really kind of my eye-opening experience to the fact that I really need to take a role in this fight for Washington State, whatever that is. And I was working as a youth pastor at the time, and I was like, okay, we've got to sign these petitions, we've got to get this on the ballot, and I really was in that push. And I realized how many people there were that didn't agree with me. And that was kind of like an eye-opening experience. And I had to look as a minister, as why don't these people agree with these, like, I don't know where everybody stands religiously, and I'm not here to really push religion, but these are all biblical values. All of these right here, they're biblical values. They're values that our nation was founded upon, and that's why I love to be a Republican, because I love to be an American. Not saying anything about the Democrats, but also not saying anything. So a couple of years ago, I started to really kind of feel that, like a pull down to Olympia, and to go and confront these lawmakers that were putting these horrible policies, anti-family, anti-life, anti-freedom, all the things that we represent, they're against. And so I was like, well, if I have a loud voice and I'm used to public speaking, I should use that to go and stand down in front of these people and at least confront them and see what's going to happen. So I started to go down to Olympia, and the first time I remember testifying against, I think it was the Parent Right Bill, I was terrified. My knees were knocking, I was terrified. But I went up there and I wrote my thing, and I just made sure I didn't look anybody in the eye, and I stumbled through it, and I was able to get my point across. Nothing changed, but I felt like it was more important to expose their bad ideas than to flip their vote. Because I have questions about what these Democrats actually believe. Do you actually believe that? Or is there a loyalty to an agenda here that maybe is influencing how you're voting against your own morals? Like, I honestly believe that. So I started to just kind of, as a minister, make that a part of my ministry. So I'm going to go down there and I'm going to expose these evil ideas for what they are, and then, throw them on social media and allow the people to decide if what I'm saying is true or not. The income tax is terrible. I'm very pro-life, very, very pro-life. And they want all the abortion bills that they are just trying to pass. And Democrats are sneaky. Well, they're not sneaky at all. But they pass multiple bills that say the same thing, but they have one bill here and one bill here, and a lot of them are just cookie cutters of the same thing. They change a couple wording in it to try and get it passed as something else, to try and get it past the people. And what I will say too is it can be intimidating as an average citizen to look at legislation and read it and understand it. It's very intimidating. But once you kind of get the feel of how these things are put together, it's not as intimidating as you think. And I think I've gone to testify where I'm like, do you even read what you're voting on? Have you even read this millionaire's tax? Have you even read this petition thing? Like, all these things I've wondered. And so a lot of people I meet know me from social media, which I am beyond floored that even worked. Because as a father with 8 kids, I have baseball practice and basketball practice. And I was just thinking, what can I do to make a difference? And my wife trusted me with a phone with a record button on it, and I was like, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to throw some information out there and see what happens. And after a little bit of a time, it began to kind of pick up a little bit. And I mean, my videos have been viewed over 1 million times. A 47-year-old middle-aged man, okay, that has a phone. It embarrasses my kids, but that's also a plus. But with that social media kind of influence, I've learned that there's a couple different kind of people that I've talked to. And the main one that concerns me is, well, there's two kinds of people. There's one person type of people that say, I had no idea what was going on. I talked to a lady 2 days ago. She had no idea that these AR-15s were banned. She was like, what? Is that allowed? I'm like, no, it's not allowed. And then so you have people that don't know what's going on. You have other people that will say, you know what, I elected my representative, I'm just going to let them do it. And to me, I'm concerned about both, because we have one person that doesn't know what's going on, and you have another person that has just surrendered it. Yes, we have representatives, but we have a responsibility as the citizenry in order to do this. Now, we have to look at where do we find all our hope in this. And I find my hope in the most interesting place. Because what are we actually facing here in Washington State? We're facing an ideological takeover. They are infiltrating this DEI and all this authoritarianism in every system of government from the top down. They're just trying to spread it throughout the entire state. They're breaking down the family. They're trying to take away parents' rights. They're hiding kids from parents, transitioning them, this and that. It's this divide and conquer tactic. That's where I find my hope, and allow me to explain. Because there is something so powerful about the truth that you and I are here tonight because we believe in something. We believe in something that's true. We believe that parents are the ones who lead the governance of their home, and nobody else. Not an elected bureaucrat, not a school principal, none of those things. That's what we believe. We believe that people have freedom to choose and live in the way that they desire, and as long as they're being lawful about it, they should be free. That's what we believe. And the lies that are sneaking in cannot last. They cannot take root because they can only crumble. Because people love lies because they're constantly being fed them. But sooner or later, you're going to run out of lies. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of ammunition to feed these lies. And people are going to be empty looking for something. They're going to be looking for the truth in all of these values that we hold so dear. And there's a couple things that I wanted to just encourage us with today. I wanted to encourage us with this. Number one, encouragement kind of challenge as we kind of think about these things. Number one, I think I want us to find hope in standing on strong values. We have these values listed right here. Values are convictions that allow us they're convictions that guide our life, that guide our choices, guide our thinking, guide our behaviors. So we have to ask ourselves tonight, and I think it's very important, what do you believe in? What are your values that you hold most dear? If we went around the room, we probably share a lot of the same values. What do you believe is worth dying for? Another question, what do you believe is worth living for? Those things, I believe, are so important. Values create sustainment. Values carry us through the hard times, through the millionaire's tax, through the sanctuary policies, through all these oppressive tactics. Our values that we hold inside of us that they can't take, that they can't micromanage, that they can't steal from us unless they give them away. Those are the things that sustain us. And then I think it's also important too is, what is the anchor of those values? What is the anchor of what you believe? Now for me, my anchor is my faith. My anchor is my faith in Jesus Christ. If I did not believe that there was an all-powerful God that created the earth, and then when mankind messed it up, sent his son to die and redeem us back to himself, then what's the point of all this political stuff? Why not just live the way we want and let it just fall off a cliff? But there's something inside for me that drives me to say these things are important. These things are what I want my values to be. And then finally, as we kind of, was that 5 minutes? I'm almost done.
2 minutes?
2 minutes. Okay. Here's what I will say to you. So I was going to say this. Second challenge is this. Make sure you're educated. Be educated on what's happening. Be educated on the initiatives. Be educated on every single one of those judges. Be educated on every candidate. When a debate happens, make sure that you know everything about them. And I think finally, too, and this is so important, enjoy the heck out of your life. Enjoy the heck out of your life, because the progressive ideology offers no joy. Right. The progressive ideology offers no hope. But if we enjoy our lives, we enjoy our state, we enjoy our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, we enjoy our friends and family, they can't take that away from us. And I think my final thought that I'll leave us all with is I want to leave you with 2 questions. Number 1, where do you see your state in 50 years if you could win every election? Where do you see Washington State in 50 years if you could win every election? And I think that what that does is it leads us to capture a vision of what our state could be. We've been fighting against this uphill battle for so long, we've forgotten what's the vision that we want for our state. And then finally is this, as I wrap up, what is your role? Everybody has a very unique role because everyone is very unique. Everyone has different gifting, you have different talent, you have different interests. How can you use that to communicate the conservative movement, to save our state? How can you use your individuality to reach people that other people around this room cannot reach? Yeah. And so I want to leave you with those 2 challenges. Thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's time for word for response.